Picture this. You're rich. You're young. You grew up hunting, fencing, riding. You're built like a tank. You've got the best food, the best house, the best doctors money can buy in the year 1500. None of it matters. You might not even make it to dinner. There was a disease in Tudor England that did something almost no disease in history has done. It skipped the poor, the elderly, the kids. It went straight for wealthy, healthy young men in their prime, like it was hunting a specific type. You'd wake up fine, eat breakfast fine. By lunch, a strange sense of dread. By dinner, soaked in sweat, struggling to breathe. By midnight, dead. Some people didn't get that long. Doctors had no clue what it was. They called it, very creatively, the sweat. It showed up out of nowhere in 1485, kept returning for 66 years, killed thousands, including actual royalty, and then in 1551, it disappeared. No cure, no explanation. It just left. This is the story of the disease that hunted the rich, and the mystery nobody solved. Henry Tudor had just won the Battle of Bosworth Field, killed Richard III, and clawed his way onto the throne after decades of civil war. He marched into London in late August 1485. New dynasty, riding high. 3 weeks later, people started dying fast. On September 19th, this new disease appeared in London, and within about 6 weeks it had killed thousands. 2 Lord Mayors, 6 aldermen, 3 sheriffs, a chunk of the people actually running the city, gone almost overnight. Some estimates put London's losses as high as 15,000 out of a population of roughly 50,000. That's not a bad flu season. That's a city gutted. People reached for the obvious explanation: divine punishment. Henry took the crown through bloodshed, and now God was punishing everyone who'd backed him. Henry himself was spooked enough to delay his own coronation, the king afraid to be crowned in case the disease got him first. Nobody's ever pinned down where it came from. Some blame French mercenaries who fought alongside Henry at Bosworth. Others point to an outbreak in York that June, weeks before the battle, suggesting it may already have been circulating in England. Either way, new king, new dynasty, and an invisible killer arrived like part of the welcome package. This is the part that makes the sweat scarier than the plague, honestly. Stage 1. A wave of dread, like your body knows before your brain does. Then violent shivering, bad enough to crack ribs, plus dizziness, headache, full body aches. This alone could run 3 hours, and you're already wrecked. Stage 2 gives the disease its name: skin burning hot, heart racing, unbearable thirst. Then the sweating, sudden, drenching, with a smell people described as foul. Add delirium, a weak, racing pulse, chest pain, trouble breathing, total systemic freefall. Stage 3, collapse, and an overwhelming need to sleep. The cruel part, a lot of people who gave in to that sleep never woke up. Some died within 2 to 3 hours. Most who didn't survive were gone within 8 to 24. Mortality in hard-hit communities reached as high as 50%, with contemporary estimates ranging anywhere from 5% to 90%, depending on the outbreak and source. Compare that to the Black Death, horrific, but it took days. You had time to say goodbye, call a priest, write a will. The sweat gave you none of that. If a disease this fast and this strange existed, and we still can't fully explain it 500 years later, what else has history buried? Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one, and drop a comment. Would you rather have 3 hours of warning or none at all? Here's where it gets genuinely strange, and why this disease is still studied today. Every plague in history follows the same pattern. the poor get hit hardest. Bad sanitation, overcrowding, no medical care. The Tudor sweat flipped that script. Affluent young men suffered the highest attack rates, with the clergy hit especially hard, while the very young and very old, usually first to go in any outbreak, were comparatively spared. This broke everyone's understanding of disease at the time. The common belief was that filth and sewage caused sickness. If true, London's slums should have been the disaster zone, not the manor houses. So what's the explanation? A few theories, none proven. Housing. Wealthy homes were heavier, more sealed, often near stables and grain stores, exactly the setup that attracts rodents. If this spread through rats or mice, rich households may have unknowingly built the perfect rodent habitat right next to where they slept. Immunity. Rural laborers working with livestock daily might have built up low-level resistance to whatever the pathogen was. Nobles, shuttling between estates and royal court, had none. Diet. Rich, meat-heavy diets might have interacted with the disease differently than the poor's grain-heavy diets, though nobody's confirmed this either. The honest answer? Nobody fully knows why this disease targeted the privileged. It remains one of the biggest open questions in the entire case. 1485 wasn't a one-off. The sweat returned across 5 separate waves over 66 years. There may even have been a personal hit in 1502. Prince Arthur, heir to the throne, fell ill at Ludlow Castle alongside his teenage wife, Catherine of Aragon. Catherine survived. Arthur didn't, dead at 15. If Arthur lives, his younger brother never becomes Henry VIII. No 6 wives, no break from Rome, no Church of England. One possible outbreak, and English history rewrites itself. More waves followed, 1508, then a harsher one in 1517, centered on London. A particularly severe outbreak hit in 1528, the only one to spread widely into mainland Europe, reaching Hamburg, Scandinavia, and beyond. The final wave struck in 1551, hitting England hard one last time before fading for good. At the time, explanations ran to divine punishment or bad air. Foul vapors blamed for everything, since nobody understood germs yet. Modern science has better guesses, still no answer. The leading theory? A hantavirus, a rodent-borne pathogen that causes fever, brutal fatigue, and sudden cardiovascular collapse, a profile that fits much of what's described. Researchers have floated a possible transmission path. Rats carrying the virus from Russia and Siberia through Scandinavia into northern England via trade ports, exploding into epidemic by 1485. That theory also conveniently explains the grain store connection to wealthy estates. Other candidates: relapsing fever from ticks and lice, or anthrax tied to England's heavy wool trade. Every theory has a hole. Hantavirus doesn't usually spread person to person, but some outbreaks here look like they did. Ticks and lice don't typically kill in 3 hours. Nothing fits perfectly. Whatever it wasn't the plague, smallpox, typhus, or flu. It doesn't match anything we currently have a name for. This is the creepiest part of the whole story. After 1551, it never returned. Not in England, not anywhere, in any confirmed form. Compare that to almost every other major disease of the era. Plague kept returning for centuries. London was hit again in 1665. Smallpox stuck around until a global vaccination campaign wiped it out. Typhus and flu kept resurfacing generation after generation. The Tudor sweat just stopped. No vaccine, no cure, no explanation. It spanned 4 reigns, took a future king's heir, and vanished as if it had never existed. Theories for the disappearance. Maybe the pathogen mutated into something milder and blended into background illness. Maybe whatever fed it, rodent populations, farming changes, disappeared. Maybe enough people built immunity over 66 years that it simply ran out of road. None of it's provable. The Tudor sweat doesn't get the spotlight the Black Death does. No mass graves, no DNA-rich remains, none of the dramatic archaeological evidence that makes other plagues easy to study. That arguably makes it scarier, not less interesting. It arrived the moment a new royal dynasty took power. It killed faster than almost anything else in its era, and it broke the most basic rule of disease, targeting the strong and wealthy instead of the weak and poor. More than 500 years later, historians and microbiologists are still combing through old records trying to crack the case. No name, no closure. Just a disease that came from nowhere, killed without warning, chose its victims for reasons still unexplained, and disappeared without a trace. 5 centuries on, the case file is still open. If you want more lost history that sounds made up but isn't, subscribe to the channel and dig up one of these every week. And let me know in the comments, which unsolved disease should I cover next?